Oh, is that Anne? There she is. Oh no, it's Lisa. Lisa's coming.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'll just make a start then. So hi, my name's Jo Fuller and I'm the Senior Manager for Product Development Support. I'd just like to welcome you all to this session today and thank you for taking the time to actually come to this session. I think it's a really important session because we can, there'll be a period of time to actually do a presentation, and at the end of the presentation we'll certainly ask you any questions that you might have, and that will give a good opportunity to have that discussion. Just to sort of start off, I'd just like to acknowledge that I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this meeting's taking place, and like to pay my respect to elders both past and present, and any First Nations people here today. So from my team, I've got the assessment designers, which are Dave Gilchrist, Lucia Rulo and Alison Warren. They're all across the state, but they're all here. And then, of course, I've got Mark Simpson, who's one of the Learning Bank officers who's located at Bankstown. I think I might have spoken to a few of you, but it'd be really good if I could just hear a hi from you and just the skills point that you're representing, if that's okay. Honor, would you mind starting? Would that be okay, please? Okay. So Honor might not have heard me. So Kim, would you like to say a quick hi?
Sure. It's Kim Brown here. I'm from the Innovative Manufacturing, Robotics and Science Skills Point, and we're located in Hamilton in Newcastle.
That's right. And probably I did miss saying a welcome to Robin Hughes too, who's also from my team, so my apologies there. So thanks, Kim. So Trish, quick intro, please.
Hi, I'm Trish Sam, and I'm at the Creative and Design Ideation in Parramatta.
So hence your photo that's got a beautiful sort of artwork in the background there,
Oh,
yes?
yes, but that is actually from Auckland in New Zealand.
Okay, great. All right. Welcome, Trish.
Thank you.
Rochelle?
I'm having some dramas too, but I think if everyone can hear me, my name's Rochelle Matthews. I'm from the Griffith Skills Point. I actually attended a little quick meeting yesterday that David Gilchrist chaired, which is similar to this, but I'm here happy to listen to it all again so it all sinks in. I think this one today is going to be a bit more detailed because stuff was updated yesterday afternoon. So yes, I'm here and ready to find out heaps more. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great, Rochelle. So you might have known that we've done information sessions with the skills points, but we thought particularly for you guys, you needed a specific session, so that's why we're doing that one.
Thank you, that's good.
Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Austin. I'm in Supply Chain and E-commerce Skills Point in Dubbo.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Honor, are you able to speak now? Maybe not, that's okay. Let's go to Farah.
Hi guys, Farah from Skills Point Tourism and Experience Services based at Coffs Harbour.
Great, welcome. So Barbie?
Hello, I'm from Health, Wellbeing and Community Services in Queanbeyan.
So there we go, all the way from Coffs Harbour, all the way down to Queanbeyan. Okay, Angeline?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angeline. I'm working at Skills Point with Chris Privacy. I've been
Great, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we'll just go back to Honor and see if Honor is actually there. She might be having a few audio problems. Okay, all right, so the way that this will work will be really just a way of sharing all about the assessment templates and the availability of the assessment templates, how to actually access data, and then obviously how to store all of the assessments. So, and please, if you have a question and you need it answering, please let us know. But there will be time at the end to actually have a formal discussion. We're not expecting it to go for the full hour, but we certainly wanted to take some time to take you through it all. So if I could just hand that over to one of my team members, please.
Yes, I can. Dave, are you putting up the presentation or?
Yeah, I can if you like. Yep, no worries.
Great.
I'll do that. Yep.
So just while that's happening, can I just check you all know the assessment designer that's like your business partner for your actual skills point? You know that? I think everybody does, but you know, we might go through that at some point just so that everyone's really clear. Oh, you sure? Yeah, Kim. Yeah, there you go. That's one problem, isn't having to share an office with an assessment designer. Thanks, Lucia.
Well, welcome everybody to the information session, and this is what we're going to be running through today. So I know that probably some of you have already participated in the skill points one, but what we're going to do with this session is actually go into a little bit more detail so that you're fully aware of the systems and how they work and where to find everything. So what you can see here, the overview that we're going to go through is going through the different assessment templates, and they've been called version 3, where to find the assessment templates, saving your drafts, storing your finals, assessments, and also some information around the file names, acronyms. We've coupled this up with the data, so we'll go through some of that as well so that you can see how that works and also what to be aware of when you're actually using that system. So with the assessment templates that you can see there on the right hand side, they were actually, if you were looking for them yesterday, you would not have found them because they were actually uploaded all today. So they are now ready up on the Learning Bank. All the templates that you can see there on the screen ready for you to use. With each of the templates there is a support document, and the support document has been put together to offer some guidance, some hints and tips in what to do and how to complete your assessment templates. So there's some valuable information in there to assist, and there's a support document for every single one of the templates. With the templates, there is a student-facing document, which is the assessment for the student, and there's a teacher and assessor-facing document. So they're quite distinctive, as the assessor marking guide actually says, trainer assessor marking guide. So in using those, the student-facing document would be the assessment to the student, and the marking document would be a duplicate of that student assessment and contain model answers, sample answers, and the relevant criteria needed to be able to be used by the assessor to form their judgment and grade the assessments. So there is a consistent approach throughout all of the documents. If you go down to the third one, which is the qualification course assessment guide and the unit assessment guide, there's quite a lot of detail around those, and what needs to happen with those is that there is a qualification assessment guide to be produced, as well as a unit guide for each assessment unit. So the qualification is the overall of the course, and the unit is a unit approach. So in some instances, some of the feedback that came back was that we use a qualification and we don't use a course. So we've added both qualification and course just in the event that a particular skill point might go by the course and not so much by the qualification. So there is both grey italics throughout the documents, and of course it needs to be edited to ensure that the right information is incorporated within the template. So as I mentioned, today these templates are available on the Learning Bank, and they are in Word format, and the support documents are in PDF, so they're available and ready for you to use. There will also be another web site, which is the Data Docs, and at the moment they're currently being uploaded, so that will take possibly another 2 or 3 days, but we anticipate that by the end of the week they will also be available on Data Docs for you to use, and the templates. Next slide, please. So with the assessment templates, you'll see that there's 2 different screens. There's the blue on the left and the green on the right. So with the blue, that's the Learning Bank, and so just ensure that that's the view that you're seeing. If there I have had in some of the sessions that's probably not the view that we get or we have access. So if there are any issues with that, then contact the Learning Bank and they'll be able to rectify that for you. But for the best results in using both these systems, you should use Google Chrome or Safari, is what we recommend. The one on the left is the data. So once the templates are populated at the bottom of that, the templates will be listed. It's just a matter of putting in your qualification and unit details, and it'll populate the information for you. We will also share this PowerPoint because it is interactive, so there's hyperlinks for the different systems. So we'll share that at the end of the week so that you have a reference of that. Next slide. So again, another view from the Learning Bank is that the front-facing page, which was on the screen previously, and Dave's now going in there live, thanks Dave, is that once you've gone through the first screen, there are actually under the title of TAFE New South Wales templates. So that's the front screen that was there before. So you need to click, just as Dave is, onto the search for skill points. That takes you to that screen, and the third one down, TAFE New South Wales templates. And then you'll see there below all the templates listed below. So if you click on, say, an assessment, like TAFE, for example, or maybe just click on one, Dave. Thanks very much. You'll see them listed there below, and you'll notice also too that the naming convention has been added to all the footers within the template, and they've been named as well. So the first one, where it has the student support document, is a document that I was mentioning, is that you use that in conjunction in writing your actual assessment. So there's a lot of information on that. We've made it as simple as possible to be able to read the information and extract, and that's really to assist in the process of developing the assessments. Within each of the templates, we've also added a couple of different assessment methods to assist the process. So where there are 3 different types of assessment processes, as in a role play, a presentation, and a practical, that we felt would be in line with a skill-based assessment approach. There are obviously other methods that you can use. So it's a matter of either going with the assessment methods we've chosen, or if there is another assessment that's more preferred or suitable, then by all means make the adjustments and just add them into the template. So if maybe we can pull up a template, Dave. So this is the actual assessment template, which is the student-facing document. So they're all consistently the same. So you will put all your details in there. Now that first 3 rows in the, once that goes into data, that's automatically populated. So once you put in the qualification, the unit code, and the unit name, that'll automatically populate all your templates. So that part you don't have to do. It's just a matter of then working through the other pages of the document and adding in your assessment, the instructions, making the adjustments throughout, and producing the student document. So we've also incorporated within the templates edit spaces for students to write their answers, and templates already set up for you. So we're trying to make it as seamless and as simple as possible. The footers have all been added as well. So there's the document title and a resource ID. And further in our presentation, there is the guidelines, which we'll run through as well. Now, the student name is at the bottom of every page. And there are instructions around that as well to remind the student to write their name on at the bottom of every page. And in this particular assessment, we've added the observation checklist, and there is also a feedback form in every single assessment. So the difference between the ones that are on the intranet is that these assessments, we've incorporated an assessment feedback at the back of every assessment for the student, and we've also added the student declaration in the front. So where originally it was 3 templates, we now have incorporated into the one assessment. Thanks, Dave, for that. Could we maybe have a look at data and see how it looks on the data?
Lucia, while Dave's moving over to that next platform, maybe we want to just mention to the team about the accessibility and the layout of the template.
Sure. Thanks, Alison. So all the templates at the moment, all the templates have gone through an accessibility check. So they've all been checked to ensure that they work. I've also tested them myself in the space that are provided to ensure that you're able to put the text in and it's, and it works really well. If there are issues that you might come along the way that maybe something has shifted, then please feed that feedback through, and we're happy to make those changes. The design of the templates, we've tried to keep it very consistent and sort of a one standard approach. So you'll see that each of the templates have exactly the same structure, where the student-facing document starts off with the student declaration front, the assessment instructions within, and then the feedback form at the back. So that's the theme that has been taken throughout. So in the data processing document, it's really as simple as what you're seeing. You just click on the link. You see what the training package is. All the templates show up below. There is also the TAS that's there. But maybe if we have a look at a mapping, Dave, you'll see how simple it is. So in a space of couple of seconds, you have a mapping document that has been completely populated. Now, if you had to do this at a copy and paste and a manual, it'll probably take at least half an hour, maybe a little bit more to transfer all the information through. So once you've used the data and you're checking through the template, we recommend that you do have a look at TGA to ensure that everything has transferred across. What we did find that in some instances, the foundation skills did not come across as they should. So we know that there could be an issue there. So if there is you find that within the unit of competency that they haven't transferred across, then you're able to log a ticket, and then the IT guys will have a look at that. But it just seems to be, not on every single unit, it's just some random. So as you can see at the bottom there, all the templates are there. It's then just a matter of selecting the ones that you want. So in this particular one, the case study, as we mentioned before, the first 3 parts of that is already pre-filled with the information of the qualification and the unit. And then it's just a matter of going into the actual assessment and adding your assessment within it, making adjustments where the greys are, rewording if you feel you need to, and in cases where, for example, possibly the language or different methods of assessment, and that's where you would make your adjustments.
Hi, guys, there's just a question about where the resource ID comes from on the chat pod.
Okay. We might come back to the resource ID because that's in our guidelines. And I'll get the Learning Bank to talk to that one.
Sorry, Lucia, just to interrupt there. We might just get Mark to go on mute because I think there's still some noise coming through, if that's okay. That's a bit better, thank you. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint. So you can see that with the data, it's really simple and it's quite instantaneous when it comes to the mapping document, which is the one that you would copy and paste quite a bit of information in there. It also will alleviate any human error, which can happen in that stage. So and the usability, it's quite simple to use, as you can see. So this next slide, I'll ask Mark to jump on and talk to this one. Thanks very much.
Hi, thank you for that. So as you can see, I'd ask you to continue following the process as you've already been doing. Work instructions can be found in the Project 3 SharePoint site, which is linked here at the bottom, together with a link for the naming conventions. All of these can be found in the SharePoint Project 3 folder. If I can ask you just to move on to the next slide, please. After completing the quality assurance process, please can you download the latest version of the unit metaform. File naming convention, as I've said, can be found in Project 3. If you have any queries, then please email the Learning Bank at tafenewsouthwales.edu.au. We're here to support you, and we'll respond to any queries that you have just as soon as we can. Okay, if I can hand that back.
Thanks, Mark. So maybe, David, could we bring up the guidelines sheet? So as I mentioned earlier, all the templates have had the footers added and we've saved them in the Learning Bank as per the naming convention. So this training product naming convention has been updated to incorporate a lot more of the end-to-end process. So within this document, if it would contain information on teaching resources and learning resources, as you can see there below. It has the document type, the abbreviation and the file example that you would use. We've also added in there, further down, the different assessment templates that you will see there on the in the Learning Bank and that appear in data, and that's. And as you see, the abbreviations and the naming convention. So the only thing that you'll need to do in the footers would be adding in your unit code or your qualification code, and just applying the same principle that you see there on the sheet. So we've covered everything from all the assessment documents. There's also there the RPL tools, which are not available at the moment. They're still we're still working on those, but they will be coming, and all the different variations of the documents. 2.4, we've added in the training and assessment strategy as well, so the TAS. So there's some information on how to save it, if you have streams, and how you would apply those. And we've also added a section on clustered resources, because we know that in some skill points they do cluster, and how you would name those as well. So there's some information on how to name them, and ensuring too that also to the file length can be an issue, so stick to a maximum of 30 characters, particularly in SharePoint, because it seems to be a little bit tricky with the length. 2.6, we have version control. has been added in there and how to use it. So what we're saying is with version control, you'll notice that in each of the assessment templates, there is on page 2 a version control, which is the date that you would you created it. Now, as the skill points are working in the development stage of their assessments and their documents and their learning, they should be saving them as version 1, version 2, version 3, etc. Their final document should be the date that that document has been finalised, and that's what you would put in your footer. So it's not necessary to put the versions within the footer, but definitely the final date, and the versioning would be something that you will be saving in your own SharePoint folders within your skill point. 2.7 covers some information on the footers, and also and then 2.8 is the resource ID, which was one of the questions that Rochelle asked. So with the resource IDs, can you scroll a little bit down, Dave? There's some information there, and the resource IDs are listed there too, which is the actual that comes from the skill points and what's being used. So and they obviously would link into your unit, would link into your learning content for that particular unit. So that should have that consistent approach. Thanks, Dave. So going back to the PowerPoint now, we covered the information from the data and TGA, and I mentioned, to be mindful of the foundation skills in all of the mapping documents, whether it's streamlined or traditional, because we found that there could be potentially some areas where it doesn't populate. We've also the version 3 templates are sitting in the learning bank. The guidelines will sit in the Project 83 folders. At the moment, that's not available because we need to get that approved, but we anticipate that that should be uploaded hopefully by the end of the week. The other templates that are sitting on the compliance website, the version 2, and if you have a look at them today, the date has been changed. It was pointed out that at the bottom of that there is a note that says that feedback to provided for version 3, but I think that's just in error, so just disregard that note that's on there. But with the version 2 templates, which are the compliance templates, they, as mentioned, they are available to the 24th of September. What we're asking is that if you're midstream in the development of your course, that you continue with the same types of templates and not change. So if you've already started your development process, then you are able to use the version 2. If you have not, and when I say started, that you've actually got to a point where you've QA'd them and they're approved and they're ready to be used by the student. If you're still in that development process where you have possibly populated it and they haven't been QA'd and finalised and not used, then that's at the beginning of the course. The recommendation would be to go to the version 3 templates because it will just be a copy of paste of that into the new templates. And lastly, we went through the guidelines for the training naming convention and mentioned that we were there on the Learning Bank dashboard in the template collection. So that's all for the presentation. If there was any questions, we'll take questions now. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask, could I get someone who's driving the presentation just to show us exactly where on the dashboard the naming convention guidelines are, please, if you wouldn't mind?
So Rochelle, as mentioned, they are not there at the moment, the actual naming convention, but we anticipate that it will be there by the end of the week. So you will be able to see it now, but it will be as part of the Project 83 in SharePoint available, and we'll make a space for it. So it'll probably be sitting somewhere as one of the different windows in the where the templates are. But if we go maybe back, yeah. Is there any other questions?
Oh, yes, I have one, thanks. You've stressed several times that the TGA information should be checked. particularly around the foundation skills, because that's where you've seen some issues. So my question is, whose job is it to check that? Is it a product specialist team member? Because I'm just wondering what my expertise is in checking that kind of information.
So what I would say is that when we're mentioning about checking is that, as you saw, to populate the template, say for example the marking guide, it takes probably 30 seconds to extract the information from TGA. So what I would say, whoever it is that is possibly extracting the information, there is also a link there, if you're following what Dave is doing on there, that takes you directly to the TGA website. And what we're talking about checking is just to ensure that, the information that is sitting there on that has actually pulled over. So it will probably take another 5 minutes to just run your eyes through and just say, yes, 1.1, determine application that's on there and whatnot, and to go down, and this is the part, the foundation skills, because the foundation skills in many of the units of competencies are displayed a little bit differently, and also in some units of competencies and some qualifications they're already embedded in the performance criteria. In others they're actually explicit and are sitting in a separate compartment. So going back to your question, Kim, I suppose it's whoever is the one who's populating the templates, I would suggest they spend an extra 5 minutes in just ensuring that all that information has carried over.
Because I would assume that would be you populating the templates. That's why I asked the question. I was just worried about my experience in knowing, but if it's just a matter of, a quick sort of, yes, that's all there, then that's okay.
That's all it is. It's not to, to have a look at anything else other than to just a proofreading exercise to ensure that all the information has come across. Were there other questions, or maybe anything in particular that you'd like us to run through or show, or any other questions that we could assist? Does everybody have access to the learning bank, or will have access to the learning bank?
Lucia, just while Kim is typing, she might be typing her question there. Oh no, she's saying yes, she has access. That's great, thanks Kim. In reference to some of the questions that I've been getting, and it might be helpful for the support officers, is the difference, to clarify the difference between data and data gatherer. I'm not sure whether that's yours to respond to, Lucia or Dave's, just that there's some fundamental differences in those two platforms.
There is, and maybe Dave will be the better person to talk
Sure.
to that.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Thank you.
The data, the green data web service that we've just been looking at, that's being released in conjunction with the learning bank documents. So they're the same templates. The only difference being that the data docs have the TGA, information already embedded in your Word documents. So that's the primary difference. Now, Data Gatherer, I'm aware that some skills points have been using Data Gatherer. Data Gatherer is another tool again. Sorry to sound confusing. It is part of our future forward plans for the future. If you are using Data Gatherer, on this slide you'll see a link to the data web service, in other words that green website. If you're currently using Data Gatherer, which some people are, which is a desktop application, not a web service, that's a application that you will download and install on your computer, and that application needs to be updated, if you are using that tool, to the URL for the green website. The difference is, you'll notice, those of you who are using Data Gatherer already, if you look up at the top of the Data Gatherer application when you start it, there's a URL that'll go to https://test.data.newengland, etc., etc. That URL has got to be changed now if you intend to continue using Data Gatherer to live. I will send this information out when we send the slide out. I'll send out a support documentation for Data Gatherer. The thing about Data Gatherer is we're in the process of looking at updating Data Gatherer and basically combining it with the Data Web Service, that green web service you've seen, but that's still some time away. We will need to manage in the meantime the volume of people using Data Gatherer. So if you are using Data Gatherer, I believe the skill points already have an agreement to share that service. Is that the case? I suppose I should ask, who amongst the skills?
Yeah, we do. We have a calendar that we're supposed to book into, so we know who's using it at any one time.
So can we continue that process, please? That's fine. The only change to that process is a change in the URL, which I can share my screen, but I'll send it in this slide. So the URL for the green website in this slide bank, that's the URL you need to use. The reason is that the live.nee data URL has the current templates in it. We will be making an update to the software in the near future, but that's still some weeks away before that actually happens. So I hope that's clear. If it's not, please send me an email, but I will make sure that the information that I've just spoke of is shared with you guys.
So Dave, just to clarify there, and correct me if I'm wrong, this just came from a question that I had from a support officer. If the teams are to use version 2, so they're still having to use version 2 of the assessment templates because they've started to develop in that, that will be available on Data Gatherer, is that correct?
Okay, that's a good question. So there are a number, it's starting to get confusing now, isn't it? But there are version 2 templates still available from Data, but you need to have the correct URL. So I better, because of that scenario hadn't occurred to me, I'll share a piece of information that will, what we'll have to do, I can share my screen and show everybody, but what we'll have to do is switch the URL at the top of the Data Gatherer application to get the versions that we need. We will, in the update of Data Gatherer, we will be managing this stuff automatically, but at this point in time we will need to do this manually. So if that doesn't make sense, please let me know, but you'll need to switch the URL depending on which version of the templates you needed to download, and I can share that information.
So Dave, possibly, because it's probably going to be something that everybody in this meeting needs to just check, maybe we need to put that in a visual with some live links and send it out to the team. Would that be easier?
Yes, sure. And if it was appropriate and we had time, I could actually share my screen and just show people quickly what I'm talking about, if that was appropriate as well.
Would the team members be happy with that, people in the meeting? For Dave to share his screen? Yep, great. Let's do that, Dave.
Okay, just bear with me for a sec. I'll just need to, I've only got one screen here at the moment, sorry, so I'm a little bit slow switching between stuff, but I'll do my bestest. So you should see my screen again. Where is Data? There's Data. So you guys who are using Data would be aware that of the application. I'll just run Data. Now by default, when it happens, there it is. So again, sorry for those of you who haven't used Data Gatherer. This is a desktop application. This is not a web service. So the green website we looked at is an online tool that allows us to do the data work. This is a desktop application. You'll find that by default it'll have this URL up the top of it by default. I'll confirm, but I'm pretty confident, but I'll double check this after this meeting today, that URL will download version 2 documents, but I need to confirm that because I know there's been some work going on in the background that may have changed. But by default, that's what will happen. So if I was to browse a training package, I won't do it, and download the doc, choose a call and download it, I would get the version 2 documents is my understanding, but like I said, I'll double check that. What we need to do to get the version 3 documents, this is a manual process at the moment until we can automate this, I need to change the word test to the word live. And then when I redo this, what will happen now, that will gather the version, pull down the version 3 assessment templates from the server when I do that. So if I was to choose some units and download that now, that would be the version 3. As I said, I will share this in a communication because some of you guys do use Data Gatherer. So is that making sense? Please ask me any questions and I'll do my best to answer them.
Yep, that makes sense, David.
Okay, cool. I'll just confirm with everybody that test is the correct URL for version 2, but I can definitely confirm that live is the correct URL for version 3. So in other words, all the assessment templates that are up in the Learning Bank and in the data web service, they're the ones that you'll download if you change the URL to live.nei.
Thanks, Dave. Was there anything else? Any other questions, Alison?
The only other thing that I just wanted to mention is some of the teams may be working with accredited courses, and if you are, you probably are familiar that there is no data on TGA to pre-populate templates. So just to say, yes, we're still working on that as a future focus, that hopefully one day we will be able to pre-populate accredited course templates for you as well, just as a by the way. Thanks, Lucia.
Thanks, Alison. Yeah, so I suppose if there's, if we've answered all your questions, obviously the three of us are always here for you, and we work within the different skill points. So as Joe mentioned, maybe we'll, if you haven't or don't know who we work with, the skill points that I work with are the health and wellbeing, the infrastructure, and the creative and ideation. So maybe Dave, do you want to run through who you are currently working with?
So off the top of my head, I'm working with the TES people, the people out here at Coffs Harbour, tourism. So I haven't got the names all in front of me. Sorry, Lucia, I'd have to look. So I'll hand over to Alison while I just quickly check.
Thanks. I'm here in Hamilton, so with Kim Brown's team, which is Innovation Manufacturing. I also work with Technology and Business Services. And I have a new one who I can't remember, Lucia, I have to be really honest, and I don't have the list in front of me. My apologies.
Okay, but anyway, you know that the three of us are here as assessment designers. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to reach out to any of us, and we're more than happy to assist in any of the things that we've covered. Or if there's any other questions that maybe we haven't covered today, please email us, and we'll be happy to get back to you.
I've just realised too. How could I forget agribusiness and career pathways? The people in Tamworth as well. It's hard off the top of your head, but to remember these things sometimes.
It is a little bit, yes.